Let me ask you something uncomfortable. You probably know someone, maybe a colleague, a neighbor, or someone you follow online, who seems to have it all. The car, the fits, the vacations, the lifestyle. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you wonder, how? But here's what nobody tells you, most of them are broke. Not broken like, can't eat, broke. Broke like, one unexpected bill away from financial collapse. High income. Zero wealth. And the scariest part? They don't even know it's happening to them. Because fake wealth doesn't feel fake when you're living it. It feels like success. It feels like you've made it. And that feeling? That's exactly the trap. Today, we're breaking down the real psychological difference between looking rich and being financially free, and why your brain is literally wired to choose the wrong one. Here's something that'll change how you see every financial decision you've ever made. Your brain did not evolve to build wealth. It evolved to survive, right now, today, this moment. So when you're standing in a store and you see something you want, your brain doesn't calculate your retirement fund. It floods your system with dopamine and screams, get it. This is called hyperbolic discounting, a fancy term for a simple truth. Your brain values $500 today far more than $5,000 20 years from now, even though the math is obvious. The future reward gets mentally shrunk the further away it is. And here's the brutal neuroscience behind it: dopamine isn't released when you own something. It spikes when you anticipate buying it. The scroll. The browse. The add to cart. That's your hit. The moment you actually own the item, the dopamine crashes. Which is why the new phone feels incredible for a week, and boring by the next month. This is the dopamine spending loop, and it's why people chase purchase after purchase, never feeling satisfied, never actually getting ahead. Now layer something on top of that already hijacked brain: social media. Psychologist Leon Festinger identified decades ago that humans measure their own worth by comparing themselves to others. We've always done it. But social media didn't just amplify that, it globalized it. You're no longer comparing yourself to your neighborhood. You're comparing yourself to the most curated, filtered, highlight reel version of millions of strangers, daily. The result? A cycle of status anxiety that never ends. You see someone's luxury purchase. You feel the gap. You spend time closing it. You feel temporary relief. Then the feed refreshes. And it starts again. This isn't a discipline problem. It's a psychological warfare problem. And most people are losing without even knowing they've entered the battle. Quick one: if this is the kind of content you want more of, hit like. And drop your country in the comments. Genuinely want to know where this is reaching. So you get a raise. Great. But watch what happens next. Your brain immediately resets what feels normal. The modest car feels embarrassing now. The apartment feels too small. The dining habits feel basic. Behavioral economists call this your reference point shifting, and once it shifts up, it almost never shifts back down. Why? Because of loss aversion. Research by Daniel Kahneman found that the psychological pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining it. So downgrading your lifestyle, even temporarily, doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels like genuine loss. Like failure. Like going backward. This is why high earners stay financially fragile. In Singapore, professionals earning 15,000 Singapore dollars a month can still have barely any liquid savings, squeezed between car loans, mortgage stress tests, and lifestyle obligations that expanded with every pay raise. In the UK, people earning over £100,000 report feeling financially vulnerable. Same story in the US. High income without behavioral control isn't wealth. It's just expensive survival. Here's where it gets important, because this isn't a character flaw. This is science. Researchers at Princeton studied what happens to cognitive performance when people face financial stress. When low-income participants were presented with a $3,000 problem, like a sudden car repair, their cognitive scores dropped the equivalent of a 13-point IQ decline. That's like functioning on zero sleep. Meanwhile, high-income participants weren't affected at all. Financial scarcity doesn't just drain your wallet. It drains your mental bandwidth. It makes good decisions neurologically harder to make. So when someone says, just stop spending and save, they're ignoring the biological reality of what financial pressure does to the human brain. And on the other side of the spectrum, studies on lottery winners in Florida showed that people who received windfalls between $50,000 and $150,000 were 50% less likely to go bankrupt immediately after, but were just as likely to go bankrupt 3 to 5 years later. The money didn't fix the behavior. It just postponed the collapse. Wealth isn't a cash injection. It's a psychological system. So what does the other side look like? The truly wealthy, what researchers Thomas Stanley and William Danko called prodigious accumulators of wealth, don't look rich. They live in modest neighborhoods. They drive practical cars. They don't perform success publicly. Their wealth is invisible, quietly compounding in diversified assets, building freedom that no one can see at a dinner party but that pays dividends in every life decision they'll ever make. The difference isn't income. It's the behavioral architecture they operate inside. They automate savings before they can spend them, routing 15 to 20% of income directly to investments on payday. They reintroduce friction into spending, deleting saved card details, using cash for discretionary purchases, enforcing 72-hour delays on non-essential buys over $100. They don't rely on willpower. They build systems that make the right choice the default choice. That's the real game. Not earning more, leaking less, and locking more away. So now you understand the psychology behind fake wealth, the dopamine loops, the social comparison traps, the lifestyle inflation that quietly keeps high earners broke. But here's the deeper question you need to ask yourself. Why did your brain develop these patterns in the first place? Because the way you think about money didn't start with your last paycheck. It started long before that, with how your brain was conditioned to see money, scarcity, and security from the very beginning. And if you haven't watched our previous video yet, Why Your Brain Keeps You Poor, The Money Psychology Trap, that's exactly where this story begins. Watch it next.